Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Tom LaHue, and we're going to be talking about Enneagram Type 4s today. And we're going to be looking at the story of you, or the story of your life. Before we get started, just a reminder, in the description below is a link to my website, tomlahue.com. I do Enneagram and relationship coaching. What is that? Well, it's just using the Enneagram to help us to see maybe some patterns in our life that keep us stuck and keep us from moving forward, and sometimes affect the way we relate to others. Of course, I want you to have the best relationships possible. I want you to be loved and to love in return. And the Enneagram can be useful in helping us to see some things about ourselves that maybe we wouldn't see otherwise, and to be more compassionate with ourselves and with each other. So if you're interested in that, please go to my website, and I have all kinds of different plans available: 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, or you can just book a single appointment. So check that out. Also, I do offer a lot of different courses on demand on my website. If you're interested in learning more about the Enneagram or Enneagram certification or any of those kinds of things, check those out on my website. And thanks to my patrons, I really appreciate your support as well. If you're not a part of my Enneagram community, then just go to my homepage and enter your email address, and I have a free download for you to welcome you to my community. There's a free download of a mini course called Know Your Why. And also there's an Enneagram, not a test, but something like a test to help you figure out your type if you don't know your type already. So let's jump into this. This material comes from a book that I'm reading right now called Deep Living by Dr. Roxanne Howe Murphy. And I've really been enjoying this book. She spends a lot of time at the beginning of the book talking about how we get stuck, in our personality type, and sometimes, because of the impulses and compulsions that come with that type, that can lead us down a road that, maybe doesn't take us where we really want to go in life. But then she has chapters for each type. And I want to spend some time talking about type 4 today. And I want to look at her section where she says the story of your life relating to your inner and outer world. And this, I think, is really good. It's kind of like imagining what maybe it was like for you as a child. And some of the things that the mental gymnastics that might have been going on in your mind as you were growing up. So let's take a second, read this, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so this is what she says. She says, even as a small child, as a type 4, you felt so very different from your parents. You wondered, how did I come to be in this family? And almost from the beginning, you felt unseen and misunderstood, and you felt emotionally abandoned or lost. So let me just say that sounds awful. That sounds terrible. To feel like you don't belong in your own family, to feel like you don't really fit in, you're misunderstood, and you're not sure how you came to be in this family because you're so different than they are. That's got to feel like maybe like you felt like you were adopted. Maybe you were adopted. But to feel like you don't fit in your own family, I mean, that's where you're supposed to fit, right? The one place that you're supposed to feel safe and feel like you're a part of the group, like you have a seat at the table, would be in your own family. And so let's just take a second. I'm just taking a second and recognizing that that's kind of a sad thought or a sad feeling. And when you think about 4s and their melancholy or sad, depressive kind of condition, well, that seems to make sense, because if I felt like that, I would feel sad. If I felt like I didn't belong in my own family, felt like you were very different from your parents. Maybe your parents were very religious and you weren't, or maybe they weren't religious at all and you've become a believer. But nonetheless, almost from the beginning, feeling unseen and misunderstood, emotionally abandoned or lost. I remember reading in another book about the story of the 4. The childhood wound or childhood message of the 4 is that you came into this world, were the center of your family. You were loved. They paid attention to you. You felt seen and loved and understood and cared for, and like you were the center of their world. And then something happened, maybe another sibling was born, or a parent died, or there was a divorce, or the family moved away. But there was some event that took place that all of a sudden whatever love and attention you used to receive just kind of dried up and vanished. And the child is left wondering, what did I do? I can't think of anything I did to make these people that used to value me and love me withdraw from me. So maybe there's just something inherently flawed in me. Maybe there's just something wrong with me. And then kind of like spending the rest of your life trying to understand that. And that wound sets you up for difficulty in relationships because, it's like you long on the one hand for connection and love and acceptance and to be understood and to be seen and loved for who you are, while at the same time fearing that if you open yourself up to that kind of love, what if those people do the same thing that happened to you earlier on? What if they withdraw from you? What if they abandon you? What if they reject you? Well, that pain would be so miserable that it might cause you to start testing people to see whether they can handle you, to see whether they could, handle all that you are. And you might find yourself, revealing things about yourself, your challenges, your struggles, your tragedies, your insufficiencies, to see if this person who's getting close to you is going to really accept you and really love you. And of course, other people who don't understand this, or who don't see this, or don't, understand the Enneagram, are not necessarily going to understand what's going on. They're just going to feel like, why does this have to be so dramatic or complicated? Everything was going good. I thought everything was moving forward. I thought we were opening our hearts up to each other and loving each other. And then, you have this dramatic episode and tell me this, this obscure detail about yourself and march away from me. I don't understand. I thought we were getting closer. And you were. That's the whole point, is you were getting closer. And there's a part of you as a 4 that may be scared of actually getting close to somebody. Because what if I open myself up to them, they love me, and we get this great connection that you fantasize about, this sort of dreamy, mystical kind of connection, and then that's removed from you, or it's lost. And that fear could immobilize you and keep you from ever really being able to open up and trust, and to allow yourself to be the center of someone's affection. It's kind of like, well, instead I'll just play these melancholy tapes over and over again of love that's lost or love that never was, rather than to really allow myself to risk experiencing the real thing. And to this degree, you could say that you're living, as C.S. Lewis would say, in the shadowlands, living in the shadows and not really able to embrace or experience life fully. Man, this is deep stuff. And I don't know that I have it right. I mean, I'm not an expert on 4s. I'm like everybody else. I'm trying to understand the mental workings, of a 4. And I've got a child that's a 4, and I've got a lot of clients that I work with that are 4s, a lot of friends that are 4s, and I'm of course reading about it. But let's move on and see what else she says here. Having the feeling of being very different from others in your family, it led you to a sense that there was something wrong with you. Something maybe profoundly wrong with you. That's so interesting. I wonder what things that you decided along the way might be what's wrong with you. Or did you think something was wrong with you, or did you think something was wrong with everyone else, like something was wrong with them? Or did you point the cannons at yourself and then go about searching for what the fatal flaw is, or what the problem is? Did you just assume that, well, obviously something is wrong with me? And it gets back to that other idea of, if love was turned away from me, or if I was no longer the center of the attention that I used to have, there must be something fatally wrong with me, and I don't know what it is. I wonder what you decided it was. Did you ever make a decision as to what it was? What were the options? That's, I guess, what I'm asking is, what were the options? Did you think, oh, well, maybe it's how I look, or maybe it's I'm too tall, or maybe I can't sing like everybody else can in the family, or I wonder. Interesting. Okay. So you felt as if you were missing some special ingredient that everyone else had. And you can start to see where the envy is going to come into play here, right? Everybody else has this, whatever it is, this mechanism, this quality about them that I'm lacking or missing. You can see where the envy is starting to come into play here. Missing some special ingredient that everyone else had, you may have spent much of your energy envying and comparing yourself to others, and you often felt frustrated. And I think it's probably not something that is inherently seen by a 4 themselves, that they spend a lot of time comparing themselves with others. And really 2s, 3s, and 4s, all the people in the worth and value group, to a sense, kind of do this more than maybe the rest of us, because you can kind of use the phrase, I am who they say I am, or I'm not who they say I am. But notice the attention is still given to what other people are doing. And if your goal as a 4 is to stand out and be different, or let me say one of the strategies is to stand out and be different, well, then you have to be very clear as to what normal is, or what the expectation is. Because how could you stand out if you don't understand what average is? And 3s, they tend to look at what's average and then stand above it. And 4s, stand beside it or stand next to it. Like, here's everybody in the group and they're all doing this. Well, I'm going to stand over here apart from the group and stand out in some way, where 3s kind of try to rise above and stand above them. And 2s move away from the group in order to come back to serve the people in the group and show that they're not like everyone else. They're loving, kind, sweet, and compassionate. The rest of us are all not. Okay, so you may not realize how much time and attention has gone into examining everyone else and your connection or distance from everyone else, and all that comparing. And typically what is thought about 4s is they compare themselves endlessly and they always end up coming up short. There's something about me that doesn't measure up in some way, or is fatally flawed, or is wrong, or is off. Again, that's got to be very painful. And is it real? That's a good question. Is it real? Is it true? And I guess to some degree, maybe. We're all different. We all are not the same, and we all have our own flaws. Every one of us is flawed. I mean, look at my hair. Every one of us has got problems. None of us are perfect specimens. And even if we are, even if we quote unquote are Ken and Barbie, I mean, that's only going to last for so long. And, we lose our jobs, we get sick, we lose our teeth, we end up divorced. So all of us, so there's some truth here. I mean, I don't know that 4s are more fatally flawed than anybody else, but I certainly must feel that way. But I mean, if you just look objectively, and I think it's wonderful that 4s have a wing 5, because wing 5 says, let's actually look at the details here. Let's look at the facts. Let's examine the facts, and the facts are all of us are fatally flawed. Every one of us has a dominant sin in our life that's ruining our lives. And every one of us, is fallen and no longer lives in the Garden of Eden. Let's just say it that way. We don't live in the Garden of Eden, and all of us, are wearing clothes because we're fallen creatures. And we live in a broken world, and we're broken people. I mean, it doesn't take long to see that people are broken. Just look at their marriages. Just look at their relationships. Strife, anger, resentment, bitterness, pride, envy, lust, gluttony. I mean, we're all broken. But there's something about 4s that like embrace this, where the rest of us might try to run away from this idea that we're broken and flawed and try to improve ourselves or try to distract ourselves or try to, overcome. I think 4s more honestly embrace the fact of brokenness. Like they say, don't you guys realize we don't live in the Garden of Eden any longer? Like, you guys just are okay with that? Interesting. Okay. Almost as long as you can remember, you were searching for a deeper sense of yourself. And fours tend to be, don't like the mundane discussions, of weather and football and movies and that kind of stuff. Unless the movies are revealing some aspect of a deeper sentiment, of life. Trying to figure out who you were and how you fit into life, you tried to create your personal environment to reflect your unique internal experience. In other words, I need to know who I am on the inside. And then once I understand that or develop that, then my outside, my exterior needs to accurately reflect what's going on the inside. And so if I'm feeling sad, then my exterior needs to show that. If I'm feeling melancholy, or if I'm feeling happy, or if I'm feeling connected or disconnected, then my exterior needs to display what is going on in the interior world. And I get that. You're being true and authentic to your feelings or to yourself or to your thoughts. But this could disrupt and make things difficult for you actually getting what you want, connecting with other people, because you may look intimidating. You may end up looking intimidating or melancholy, like overly depressive, and then people don't know how to relate to that, and you're going to feel misunderstood, of course. You're going to feel misunderstood when people judge you. You're going to feel judged, probably, misunderstood. Like people don't really know you. They're just judging you based on the exterior. Well, of course they are. Of course they are. Look, I can't interact with your interior person when I'm standing next to you at the pack and shave, at the Save and Pack, at the Dollar General, at the concert. I can't interact with your interior person. I can't know the real you. What do I know? I know your exterior you. All I can interact with is what I see. And if what I see pushes me away, maybe it's not intended to push me away. Maybe it's intended. What is the intention? Is the intention to get our attention, or are you not thinking about us at all? You must be thinking about the rest of us because you feel it important to display on the exterior what's going on in the interior, and so you must need us to see you in a certain way that feels authentic and real to you. But then if people don't understand or move away from that or are rejecting that exterior, that feels very problematic. Wow. Okay. Maybe I'm getting lost in the weeds here. Let me go back to the book. All right. So, thus, you were drawn to others who you felt had sufficient emotional depth. You yearned for others to see into your depths, but at the same time were scared that they would leave you. And there's that idea, like longing for deep connection with people, while at the same time being afraid that if you really opened yourself up, you let them down into your basement and let them sort through all your boxes, like they would be horrified by what they see and they would reject you. So maybe you just push them away at the beginning. Like, well, if I'm too much for you, then you're not enough for me. I'll go ahead and reject you now. I'll make myself somewhat rejectable, and then if you reject me, we solved it from the beginning. I don't have to worry about letting you in and really experiencing the pain of someone getting to know me and then not measuring up and being rejected by them. So I'll just put some barriers up early on by the way I look and the way I interact with people so that people reject me at level 1 or 2, and I don't let them into 7 or 8 and then reject me then. And I get it, but man, this is not a good strategy. You just got to think about it objectively. Like, this is not a good strategy for getting what you want. What do you want? I want deep connections with somebody who values me, who knows me. Okay. Well, pushing people away when they get close to you isn't necessarily always the best strategy for developing a close relationship. And what I'm saying here is, as a 4, just keep in mind all of us, need to do this. Like, recognize when our personality is not getting us what we want. Recognize when our impulses and compulsions, although they feel real and true to us, sometimes move us away from what we actually want. Our fundamental motivational goals of our personality type are at times at odds with our stated goals for what we really want in life. And this is true for every type. It's not just true for fours, it's true for everybody. And recognizing this and knowing when to push back on these and saying, oh wow, I'm just a four feeling four stuff, that is a huge turning moment in your life. And that is really what the whole first half of this book is about, is recognizing that you're stuck and your personality is often keeping you stuck. And you don't want your personality to ruin or run your life and just be a zombie to life. You want to recognize at times, what I'm feeling is true feelings, but it isn't always if I act on these feelings, it's not necessarily going to bring me what I really want in life. What do I really want? Think about your three wing. What's my goal here? What a great question. And it's kind of the way that threes think. What's my goal here? What's my goal, and what strategy do I need to employ to get to that goal? And if your goal is to have deep connections with people, then maybe you need to employ some different strategies than the ones that you've been running. Because the ones you've been running may not be working for you. And seeing that is all the difference. Seeing that is getting your head above the waterline so that you can recognize that sometimes other types have other strategies that might work better for you when your strategies aren't working. Interesting stuff. Okay, so where are we? Eventually, you would become disappointed or even angry at others for not fully seeing you or for not seeing your degree of suffering and struggle. How could they not see? The question is. And, fours, their speaking style is lamenting or lamentation, is, look what they've done to me, and often put themselves in the center of pain, misery, strife, struggling. And when they tell you stories of what's going on in their life, their tragedies, when they tell you the stories of what's going on in their life, it's how this person treated me unfair and how this wasn't right and how unjustly I was perceived by this person, and my mom yelled at me and nobody understands me and nobody takes time to listen to me or get to know me. And there's just kind of this long list of how now Christmas is always ruined for you. How, somebody made fun of you and now Christmas is ruined. And fours sometimes want to be appreciated. No, I shouldn't say this. I should say my perception is sometimes fours want to be appreciated for all that they endure and all that they suffer. Think twos, threes in their own way, they overcome obstacles and they feel like they should be appreciated and admired for what they've overcome, for how kind they are or how fantastic they are. And I would say fours, it's a little nuanced, like all of these bad things happened to me and I was dealt a hand with which I can't win, and yet somehow I remain in the game. Somehow I stay a player in this game. And the fact that I haven't given up or quit and am enduring and persevering, how can other people not see that and appreciate me for it and validate my suffering? And I think when fours are lamenting about their problems, it's probably unwise to try to solve those problems. Even though the rest of us, this doesn't make any sense at all. We would think, okay, if you're in a problem, what's the solution? Give me a 3-step plan. Boom, boom, boom. But what that's going to sound like to a four is minimizing and diminishing their problems. Because, if you take the marathon away from a three, you've minimized and diminished their ability to perform and show you that they are an overcome and achiever. And if you take the chaos and the drama away from the four's life, then you've taken away the context that gives them a sense of value that they have endured and persevered. Now, maybe I'm way off base here. Maybe you're watching this, you're like, gosh, Tom, you make us sound terrible. Gosh, Tom, you're so far off. Maybe I am. But after loads and loads of conversations with fours and reading and studying fours, this is how I perceive it. And I've got to be true to me. I'm just kidding. This is how I perceive it, and and if I'm way off, okay, let's go there, all right? If I'm way off, and I'm not even close to how things actually are, and I make it my business every day to study you, how confused do you think the people who live with you are? Okay? Does that make sense? If I study 4s and 5s and 7s, and that's what I'm doing with my life, is I am reading and digging in and having conversations. Today I have 4 appointments with 4 different people. It means 4 hours I'm going to be locked in and doing appointments with people, trying to understand who they are and what's going on in their life. I have made it my life's business to understand this. And if I'm way off, how confused do you think the people are in your circle who are trying to get along with you must feel? If I don't have it right, and I'm way out in left field and I don't get it at all, then look at how complicated and how frustrating and distressed the people around you must be who are trying to understand, trying to be sympathetic, and they love you and they're trying to get along with you. And they don't read these books. They don't have these conversations. All right? They're not taking in this information. They're not trying to work it out and understand it. So we all need some compassion with each other. We all need some compassion with each other. Okay. So where are we at here? Torn between being abandoned and the desire to have other people know what you're feeling. Look at that. Torn between. You see the tension? Torn between, on the one hand, this fear of abandonment or this feeling of abandonment, while on the other hand, longing for connection, longing to be loved and cared for who you are and to be understood for who you are. But this fear that if they really got to know me, that they would abandon me. Okay, I get it. The fear is real. Okay? It's real. The fear is real. I get that. But realize this, the fear lives inside of you. And now you're going to go looking for evidence that proves that what you fear is true. And looking for evidence of that is going to cause you to see and focus on things that are very likely to bring about the destruction of your relationships. In other words, there may be great people around you right now, parents, siblings, spouses, children who are trying to love you for who you are, but your fear that they don't really know you or really care about you or really understand you, your fear that they might, if they did, abandon you, might actually create challenges in accomplishing what you really want to accomplish, which is that deep connection. Okay. So you would go back and forth between withdrawing from others and concealing yourself and revealing your feelings. So there's that cat push-pull dynamic. And just realize, like, that's so challenging. It's so challenging for the other person. I know it's challenging for you. I get it. Okay, I get it. But just realize there may come a point in this push-pull cat-like dynamic where you come close and then withdraw and come close and withdraw. There may come a point where this other person just decides, I can't do this. Like, I can't, this isn't the way any of my other relationships work. I can't stomach this anymore. Like, I can't handle the volatility. I can't relate to this. I won't relate to this. This person's being volatile and dramatic and explosive and emotional and moody, and I just can't give, I don't have the bandwidth, I don't have the frequency any longer in order to put up with and deal with this. And when they break it off, notice what that will do. That will just verify in your mind, aha, see, I knew it. I knew they would reject me. But the whole reason they rejected you was because you were doing this. Because of your fear of rejection, it actually brings about the very thing you don't want. That's what I'm saying is sometimes this strategy isn't necessarily the best strategy. Catching this could be the difference in your life. And just saying, wow, the feelings are real, but I don't necessarily need to act on these feelings. Just because I'm feeling the fear of being rejected doesn't mean I need to withdraw and remove myself or test or challenge this other person or speak my honest truth to them. Think about that 3 wing right next to you. And I know it feels slimy. I get it. I know it feels slimy. It feels gross. But think about that 3 wing right there that's saying to you things like, how you present yourself is very important. I mean, the 3 wing too is called the charmer. Can you be more charming? Try to be more charming. Try to think about the way other people are perceiving you and then try to make a better impression. And that feels gross to you. I get it. But is it good wisdom for you? Yes. Yes, it's good wisdom for you. Because when you don't get that promotion and you feel like it's because you're so different or because you're so misunderstood or because of all your tattoos and your nose rings and all that, and that's why people overlooked you and you didn't get the promotion. Okay, well, then you can't be upset that people judged you based on how you looked or how you interacted. I mean, that was the whole point, wasn't it? Is that they would judge you appropriately based on who you actually are? Okay, they did, and they rejected you. And that feels awful. But what you're not seeing is, okay, you have the ability to change the impression that you're making on people. And 3s, who understands that better than 3s? And they're right next to you for a reason. The 3's looking at you saying, come on, why would you think you would get promoted? You literally don't wear a suit. You don't wear a suit. You got to play the game, man. You got to play the game if you want to get to the goal. If you want to get to the results, you got to play the game. And the 4 is like, no, I can't play that game. I must be true to myself. Okay, well, you're not going to get promoted. Because you're not moving in the way people need you to move in order for you to. And it's fine if you don't want to. If you got to be true to yourself, okay, that's fine. But realize that you're going to miss out on some of the things in life that you would say you want. And again, if I don't understand, think about the people in your life that are trying to live with you. How confused they must feel. All right, so where are we at now? Torn between being abandoned and the desire to have other people know what you are feeling, you would go back and forth between withdrawing from others and concealing yourself and revealing your feelings. Either way, when you were emotionally intense, it felt that you were being the most you and the most authentic to yourself. You came to organize your life around the sense that you were missing something important. While the ever-changing experience of intense feelings became the basis of your sense of self, the feelings of happiness didn't feel as real. And I've read before, that 4s get nervous when they start getting too happy. They've got like the message that it's not okay to be too happy or too functional in life. Like you have to have some level of dysfunction, some disorder, some way in which, you're suffering and you're different than others and others couldn't possibly understand. And so you have this dysmorphia of some form that makes you unlike anyone else and causes this intense drama and suffering in your life. Now, this is where the author says something that I kind of agree with, but then because of my Christian worldview, I kind of don't agree with it. Let me read what she says, and then we'll talk about it. She says, what you did not see is that you are okay just as you are. There's no missing ingredient in your life. And I get what she's saying. I would say it this way. You're the same as everybody else. And that feels probably disgusting. It probably feels terrible. But just like everyone else, you were born into a world where there's pain, misery, and suffering, and all of us are broken. And you're just like everyone else. We're all the same in that. But she's kind of looking at it from the positive lens. Like, you're okay. You're perfect just the way you are. And I would say, yeah, that's not really a biblical worldview. I would say you're messed up just like the rest of us. All of us have been kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and all of us live in a fallen world, and we're all struggling with anger. We're struggling with worth and value, and we're struggling with fear, this scary world we're in, and things are broken. They don't work right. And so all of us are in this same boat together. It's just maybe you're a little more aware that the fall has happened. The rest of us, again, are trying to perfect it, make it better, and distract ourselves and improve our lives. And 4's just kind of like, do you guys not realize, like, we're not in Eden any longer? Do you guys realize that? Like, we're broken? I guess we're the only ones that feel that. We're different. And I'm like, well, I think maybe you're more aware of it, more sensitive to it. You did not see that you have all that you need, and that your natural love of depth and beauty is a deep blessing. You could not see that your gifts and authentic nature shine through as you come to accept yourself. It sounds like so. It kind of sounds a little bit trite, as regular and beautiful human being that is inherently connected with the divine. Yeah, I get it. I think, yeah, okay, I can nod my head to it, but I would say it different. I would say you're aware that something has been lost. The rest of us maybe need to remember that. And maybe that's something you could teach the rest of us, is that there is brokenness everywhere, and yet there is still beauty in the brokenness. And probably as a 4, you tend to see the beauty in other people's brokenness, and you're drawn to it. Why is that person broken? Oh, what's going on? I need to understand them and see the beauty in it. But then for yourself, you tend to only see the brokenness, and you don't see the beauty in yourself. Like you have this big barn door that takes in all the negative about yourself, while when you see somebody out there in the world who is disgusting, you're like, yeah, but there's got to be a reason. There's got to be something about this person that made them this way, and I need to go search for the beauty in that broken person. There must be some tragedy they went through, and they're misunderstood, and I'm not going to be somebody who just misunderstands them like everybody else. So I'm going to go toward them and understand the beauty in their brokenness. And then when you turn the cameras on yourself, you don't see any of the beauty. All you see is brokenness. And I think she's saying, no, you're beautiful too. There's beauty in you as well. Why do you only focus on the negative in yourself? One of my favorite words, for the 4 is the healer. I get the individualist, the romantic, the dramatist. I mean, there's all these other words, the aristocrat, the bohemian. But I think my favorite word is the healer, because when 4s are doing really well, they help us find the beauty in our brokenness, and they bring healing, and they're not afraid of our chaos. They move into our chaos and dig around through our boxes to find, oh, look, here's a beautiful thing. See, there's beauty in brokenness. And 4s are healers, being honest and true and helping us to see the beauty in our chaos. But when 4s are not doing well, of course, they're the victim, the sick one, the infirmed one that nobody understands, nobody sees, nobody appreciates, the fatally flawed, sick one. So, how are you? Are you healthy? Are you balanced? Are you able to push back on the compulsions of your type that don't work for you and say, oh my goodness, I'm such a 4. I need to go back downstairs and try to connect with all those people who are here for my birthday, who love me, who care about me. This is ridiculous. I'm being ridiculous. I'm literally running away from the people who are trying to love me. I'm not saying your feelings aren't real. I'm just saying all of us have impulses and compulsions that come with our type, and they don't always lead us toward what we really want. Knowing the difference is what maturity is. When I feel like being an idiot, all right, I'm a 7, okay? When I feel like rolling around on the floor and being ridiculous, it's totally fine. If I was at a circus, do that. But when I'm at a board meeting, that's not appropriate. You would say that's immature. Well, it's my impulse. I have to be true to myself. Right now, I feel like going, Okay, that's not appropriate in the middle of a board meeting. Look at Robin Williams. Look at Jim Carrey. Look at Jack Black. These are my people. Jimmy Fallon. These are my people. And when you're on the Tonight Show stage, by all means, be an entertainer, be ridiculous. But when you're in a board meeting or at a funeral, it's not appropriate to behave that way. Knowing the difference is what we call maturity. But it's what I feel. It's my impulse. I got to bring up the excitement. I'm feeling tense and nervous and anxious, and I don't want to feel this way. So I'm going to make it lighter. I'm going to make it ridiculous. People are not going to understand it. It's not going to come off and bring the result that I want. People are going to look at me and say, you're being disrespectful. You're being flippant. You're being careless. I need to understand that. And as I understand that, I gain wisdom, and I'm better able to push back and know the difference between when it's appropriate to be a clown and when it's not appropriate to be a clown. I want to be a clown always. It's not appropriate always. But it feels real to me. Yeah, but it's going to get you fired. I don't want to be fired. It's going to make your family angry at you. I don't want my family angry at me. I want good relationships. Okay, well then you can't say it out loud. It's funny, but it's not appropriate. Knowing the difference, you would say, wow, Tommy's really matured. He's able to sit and listen to instructions. He isn't rolling on the floor and begging to go outside and play with the squirrels. He's really matured. Okay, what about you? What does maturity look like for you? What impulses and compulsions must you learn to push back on? Good stuff. I love you guys. And I know I don't understand 100%, but we're figuring it out together. All right. See you guys. As always, be present to life. And you want to talk? Here I am. All right. You know how to get in touch with me. All right. Bye.